child, my parents, but never themselves as one favorite place. Maybe that's a reason to not have the judge. I mean, and that's a perfectly good reason. You want to say, well, if you don't watch these pageants, don't judge them. But I was asked to. They were nice about it. I said yes. Their bodies are all the same. I mean, maybe I don't have a discerning enough eye, but when I go when I look at human beings, it's the variation that I really like. And there's some like strip clubs where every single woman goes to the same surgeon and uses the same hair dye, and there's a homogeneity that looks very attractive, you know. But the homogeneity drives me crazy. When I go to a place to look at human beings, you know, I want to see all different bodies. You know, I like to see fat guys. I like women that have bodies more like women and less like, you know, little boys with Tupperware stuff in their chest. Although I like the look of a woman that looks like a little boy with Tupperware stuff in her chest. I also like regular looking women, and I thought, because I hadn't seen any of these, that the Miss USA thing, there were going to be some women that were, you know, a little curvier, a little thinner, and I guess there were slight differences. I remember one woman had, you know, a little more of an ass than some women. Most of the women, and it's also changed, so most of the women this year had the same kind of very skinny, you know, a little bit like done a lot of sit-ups, but kind of small arms, and then, you know, very normal, you know, symmetry and not dimension. And maybe you're going to watch this and say, oh, Ben's just saying some of the Miss USA contestants should have had larger breasts. And I'm not. They should have had larger breasts and smaller breasts. But no, they shouldn't have. They should be exactly the way they are. But I was just surprised that's the way it was, and there wasn't more variation. Because the variation for what's looks good in a swimsuit, looks good in an evening gown, and answers questions really well. Seems like a much broader variation than what ends up here. But I guess it's kind of like if you know a lot about anything, like bebop or rock and roll, you start to hone in on really subtle differences. And these women didn't have bodies that looked to me that different in a swimsuit, but I'm not an expert, which is why maybe that, you know, Miss Tennessee's mom is going to say, well, if Ben can't tell my daughter from 3 other daughters the same age, with the same coach, in the same swimsuit, then he shouldn't be a Miss USA judge. Maybe that's the right point of view. But that's, I think it's my last thing on Miss USA. I hope I explained it all clearly. I followed every rule of my judging, and then afterwards I had personal opinions that some people disagreed with, and I'm sorry for that. And I'm sorry anyone has to lose. It's one of the reasons that I don't like competitions, but I was on Dancing with the Stars, and I do Penn and Teller Four, and those are competitions. I did Identity, and I was part of them. So they're not my favorite thing, but I'm not morally opposed to them. So I was involved in another one, Miss USA. That's the way it goes. Don't think there wasn't the biggest class. I didn't. Computer disasters eventually happen to everyone. Your computer crashes, gets infected with a virus, you drop it, theft, fire, etc. But if you get carbonite online backup before your disaster, then no need to worry, because your files will be backed up automatically and safely off-site. And it's really easy to get them back. Plus, to get any
opens with another poker game, this time with data playing with some of the greatest physicists in history. Stephen Hawking, the only person to play himself to date. A rubber faced Albert Einstein, and Sir Isaac Newton, the deadliest son of a bitch in space. Hawking is just finishing up a physics joke because that stuff's always got me cold. So Edward Lorenz walks up to a bar. Bartender asks, why the long face? Lorenz says, what do you expect? I'm hardly moving. It's true that Heisenberg was the worst lover. This is true. Every time he tried to have sex, the moment he got to the right position, he lost all his momentum. You know, Amelia is no better. For the past 24 centuries, he's been swearing he's almost there, but not quite yet. He was interrupted by an attack on Monarch of 3, and here's another thing I don't think I've seen anywhere else. The on-screen credits occurring during the teaser. Given that they're potentially going into a combat zone, the usual team is assembled. Riker, Data, Worf, and a gold ship we've never seen before. I believe her name is Ensign Bullseye. Hidden in a closet just like a zombie movie, we find a Borg. Apparently nothing can stop Borg like opening their closet door, because a massive firefight breaks out and the ship in orbit starts shooting at the Enterprise. Luckily, Geordi's on hand, ready to deal with it from engineering Troy's chair. Meanwhile, the battle of the outpost is getting nasty, as the Borg are vicious, and somehow, a spoiler warning here, kill the gold shirt. They are obviously a deadly new enemy, if only they didn't have to stop and stay with their eyes tell them in order to reach conclusions, like this guy. You walk around and do this all day, buddy? You like an elderly man in a car reading every sign you drive past. It's almost as if he's there to provide exposition for all the Borg drones who might be watching this episode at home. By the time he's finished looking around the room and stating what his eyes tell him, our buddy of his has worked his way around the room and attacked them. Unfortunately for him, he chose to take on Data hand-to-hand, and not only gets his ass for the trouble, but in so doing, manages to piss Data off. Stopping them, Captain Mavazzi identifies Data, beats up the Borg, and they're dead, and the ship escapes. This story is technically a Borg one. It's even in the Borg Collection DVD set, but it's really not a Borg story. Sure, it follows some of the events of Borg, but the story isn't about them. They're just in it, hoping to drive the action, while the real story takes place in Data. They're not much more than the whale-coated Star Trek 4 was as far as the story goes. This change to the Borg will not be seen beyond consent, probably because, as the episode illustrates, they're nothing special now. Sure, you might like the novelty of it, but what do they do that, say, the Jem'Hadar wouldn't, besides still battle through meaningless chatter? Or you'll know this story is biologically distinct from this human wearing a uniform that is crimson or possibly tank, indicating that the man has to be in position with it. So the story picks up with Geordi trying out to be important.